Welcome to the Window Wisdom Podcast, your guide to replacement windows and more. Hi, I'm Ted Kirk, and this is episode number 21, and today we're going to be talking about high-pressure sales and gimmicks. It's a pleasure to have Denver Clark on the podcast with us. Denver is a senior sales consultant with over 24 years of experience. Welcome, Denver.
Thank you, Ted. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, why don't you tell the listeners before we get started a little bit about yourself?
I started in this business when I was 22 years old, and I had been married for 1 year. So my wife and I are going on 26 years this September.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. We have 4 children. Our oldest is in the Army. We still have 3 at home. When I'm not working, I'm very, very active at church and a deacon at our church, and just have been with North Georgia Windows since 2015. And everybody who knows me knows that this is the greatest company I've ever worked for. I'm so honored to be a part of the team.
Well, we're honored to have you. So let's dive right in. We're going to be talking about some of these tactics that a lot of companies have used in the past, and maybe some things that you've been taught and maybe had to deprogram a little bit when we got into the way that we do things around here. So why don't we talk about some of these sales gimmicks? If somebody's listening to this podcast, what are some things that people need to watch out for?
Oh, that is a loaded question. Let me start with how the appointment is generated. So in our industry, there's 2 philosophies or approaches to getting the appointment. There's a buyer-initiated appointment where the homeowner has been thinking about the project, looking into companies, and they reach out and contact the company. The other approach is a company-initiated appointment. And this typically happens through, well, in the past, it was telemarketing, canvassers that knock on doors in neighborhoods, or they'll have a booth set up at a show, like a boat show or some place that has nothing to do with remodeling, and yet there's a remodeling company with a booth there. Events and different things like that, or you walk into a retail store and there's somebody right there trying to sign people up for appointments. Anytime the company has approached the customer, you're almost guaranteed to be put into a high-pressure selling situation. That's red flag number 1. Red flag number 2 is insisting, not just asking, but insisting that both or all decision makers, let's just put it that way, all decision makers will be present for the appointment and calling repeatedly to confirm the appointment. You know, those are clear indicators you're probably going to be put into a high-pressure selling situation.
Sure. And obviously we don't do telemarketing and canvassing and things. Most of our calls are all inbound, either generated from some of our marketing activities, mainly online. But a good point about requiring the husband and wife or all decision makers to be there. And, we request it, but we don't require it. So it's always a good idea to have everybody there so you're on the same page. Would you say there's a lot of content that you cover that people can make a better decision if they're on the same page together, if there are multiple people involved in that decision process?
There is no question, because there's a lot of decision points that people are not thinking about when they first look into replacing their windows. Everything from the color to the type of glass to options as far as trim or grid designs. And it's not unusual where one party is present, the other party who was not there has all kinds of questions that their partner cannot answer. I do this all the time to my wife. She's, I have her look into things, and then did you ask him this and that and the other? And she's like, if it was so important to you, why weren't you there for that appointment? Because you could have asked it yourself.
Well, it's hard to build a lot of values. So, it boils down to the one dimension of price, which is usually in home improvement, not the best way just to make a decision on, right?
In any industry, you really do get what you pay for, and that is so, so true when it comes to home improvements, windows specifically. There's no question. There's a lot of key essential differences that when people have all the facts, they're able to make better decisions.
Well, and you can pay too much as well. So, it's good to get a read on who you're dealing with.
Absolutely, 100% correct.
Well, we try to make the window process simple. Window shopping made simple is one of our brand messages here. And we just try to be very respectful of people's time. Let's talk about timing in the home. How long should it generally take? Obviously, people that are in a high pressure situation. I know that there's a thought in the industry that the longer you spend with somebody, the more likely they're going to buy. It's kind of counterintuitive the way that we do things, only asking for an hour. And there's
Right.
a lot that gets done in that hour. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no question. Now, the size of the project is going to often dictate how long we're going to be in the home, but I would guess about an hour is pretty much my average. Now, if it's a larger project and there's a lot of questions and it takes time to measure and build the quote, I would say 2 hours is usually about the max, and that's pretty rare. There are customers, I mean, numerous customers who have shared with me that they literally had to escort the other person out. Like they've carried their samples in their bags to their front porch. And it's always heartbreaking to hear that. And you hear it consistently with some of the companies that are in our market where the average appointment is 3 to 4 hours. And again, that goes into high pressure selling when you won't take no for an answer and just repeatedly ask for the business. If the customer has to say no over and over and over and over, it makes people hesitant to reach out and invite people into their home.
And it puts you at a huge disadvantage going into after them, because now you don't have somebody that's opening up and talking to you about the project and allowing you to provide solutions. They're so defensive, because of that bad experience.
And I get that. I think I would be too. And I can usually tell right away, like, okay, this person, if I met them under different circumstances, they would not be so defensive and guarded, and they must have gone through a bad experience. And I'm very sympathetic to that. And so our whole goal here at North Georgia Replacement Windows is to provide the customer with their very best home improvement experience from start to finish. And it starts with treating them the way that we would want to be treated in the sales appointment. So that's treating people with respect, having a conversation rather than going in and giving a canned sales presentation, listening, and just being respectful and being courteous to we're a guest in their home. And that's our approach.
Yeah, that's a huge difference. I want to make sure that everybody caught that. We don't come in with a canned presentation. We're there to have a conversation and just to educate people, let them make a good decision. We do extremely well with people that like to do their research, engineers type, even people in the construction industry. They have a lot of respect for people that know what they're talking about, and it's not a canned sales presentation.
Absolutely. We tend to do very, very well with customers like that. One of my favorite experiences since I've been at North Georgia Windows was I had a referral. There's a customer of mine that I've helped twice in Johns Creek, and he's an engineer, and he referred both of his sisters to us. Well, the first one that I went to see in Chamblee, I brought the window in and I wanted to just show her the window, and she stopped me and she said, Denver, she said, I'm sorry, have you met my brother? I'm like, well, yes, I've helped him twice. She said, he does not make these decisions lightly. He spent 6 months researching everything. He's an engineer. If he tells me this is the window, this is the company I want, that's all I need to know. She was like laughing as she said it. And again, at other companies, you wouldn't be listening to the customer. You're forced to go through the presentation no matter what. But here, no, we listen and respect, say, you know what, I respect that. I respect your time. Let's get right into working out the details and figuring out how much this is going to be.
And you know what you're talking about. You're not memorizing a script. You're learning all the technical details so you can educate people properly. So
Absolutely.
big difference there.
Yeah, it's about helping people.
Well, and that's a great concept. And even here in our meetings, we talk about this. We don't even use the word closing. So many companies that are involved in sales are like, did you close the deal? Did you close the deal? We talk about how many people were you able to help? And that's a huge difference.
Well, yeah, and even at that, we just talk about doing the best job we can and doing what's right, treating people right, even if once in a while we can recognize we don't have the solution that they're looking for. And we can point them to, let's say if they just need the glass replaced and that's it. We're just all about helping people and doing things the right way.
Well, let's expose a few more of those gimmicks. This is kind of fun. There's been a lot of movies out there, 1980s classic comedy, Tin Men with Danny DeVito. Glenn Ross was a little bit darker drama there, but a lot of these movies that portray the customers as prey for the salespeople, and I think there's still a lot of companies that have that same type of philosophy. So let's expose some other things. I know I've ran across a lot of them. You've ran across a lot of them. So let's just let some people know. If you see this, hey, watch out. One that always gets me is the job sign discount.
Right.
You hear this all the time. Okay, you let us put a sign in the yard. We're going to give you 10% more off, 15% off. I mean, come on. Most people let you put a job sign in the yard. We ask if we can put a job sign. It's kind of a permission-based thing. But I mean, really, is that a legitimate discount?
It is unbelievable to think, thousands of dollars for a yard sign. I mean, the gimmicks in this industry are really unfortunate. And sometimes you can tell you've been behind some companies who literally will quote one price, and before they've left the home, the price is slashed in half. And they've gone through that experience with a couple companies, so they assume that we operate the same way, where I have to direct people to our logo on our webpage. No pricing gimmicks. We're very legitimate, straightforward with a sales discount that might be available in that particular month, the financing that's available. And it's not like we're going to cut our price in half through a lot of these gimmicks is the only thing that you can say.
What about the model home discount?
That's right out of Tin Men. I mean, that was one of the best scenes, the Life magazine scene. And what's amazing is it works. It works on people. Those are usually canvassed appointments. They knock on the door. We're looking for model homes in your neighborhood to advertise off of. And literally 100% of those customers are quote unquote model homes, advertising homes. It's just simply a gimmick. And you're going to be put into a today only closing situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about another one that is maybe somewhat legitimate in some areas, but a lot of times it's not legitimate, and it can be used as a gimmick as well, or a high pressure sales tactic, and that is the same day discount.
Yes, that is a hot potato that you wonder, how do you properly address the same day discount? And the reason is because at North Georgia Windows, we do actually have a small incentive for customers who help us to run more efficiently. However, in the industry, it's very normal to have a huge up to 10%, which in some projects it can be $6,000 or $7,000 discount today only. Now that's just not right.
And for us, for those that are listening, just kind of let people know, it's something that we don't even present up front, right? I mean, if somebody's not in the position, you're not going to offer someone an efficiency discount to move forward that day. And our percentage that we're offering is only 2-3%.
Exactly. And so, Ted, I think you're exactly right. And from working with me over the last 6 years, I will not offer a same day discount if there's no chance. If this customer is in no position to take advantage of it, why would I offer them something that they don't qualify for? And so there are many customers who, today they're not at an information disadvantage the way they were years and years ago. They can do some research online. They can look up the companies. They know they want a quality product. They're dealing with a quality company. They know the design. Let's say no grids, color white, it's very straightforward. They love everything they've seen. They can afford the project. They really want to do it. And it's just a matter of buttoning up the details. Well, yeah, that person would qualify for a same day discount because it is so much more efficient than a customer who, if it takes a month, and I see 60 people in a month, and I'm driving all over town, and I don't get home till 8 o'clock at night. Meanwhile, there's emails piling up with revisions to these projects. I mean, I've revised some projects as many as 20 times before the customer was comfortable doing it. Well, I'm happy to do it, but it's just nowhere near as efficient as the customer who's ready to go and places their order right away. It frees me up to be able to serve other people. It's no different than if we were sitting on the same plane. Say we were flying to Seattle, you bought your ticket 4 months in advance, and I waited till the weekend before. Well, I'm probably going to pay a lot more for my ticket than you because of the efficiency that the airline can run at when people make their plans in advance. So,
well, another thing I could point out from, just dealing with a lot of different sales consultants in this role is, a lot of times people are having so many quotes. It's easy to get somebody to come out to your home. Well, most of the time we hope it is, but you start seeing three or four, five different companies, and each company saying something different. And then there's things that get lost in translation, and somebody said something and you're not meeting those expectations. It's usually good to get everybody on the same page while you're there, so you don't lose anything in those expectations down the road. I mean, have you encountered that?
Absolutely. There's no question that as you talk to more and more people, you start hearing so many different conflicting bits of information. It's so easy to jumble up who said what and what was the installation on this one versus that one. And the bottom line is, for a customer, anytime a customer is not happy with their experience, it comes down to unmet expectations. They were expecting something different than what they received. And so that's why the communication is so important, to make sure. That's part of the reason why it helps to have all decision makers present. We don't insist on it, but it does help, because they may have an expectation that wasn't addressed. They assume something. And we don't want that. We want everybody to feel like this was the best experience they've had from start to finish. No expectations were not met. We try to exceed the expectations every time we can.
And we're not bringing in gift cards or giving away cruises.
That's right. Exactly.
Well, businesses are just solution providers at the end of the day, and people don't want to be closed. They don't want to be made to feel stupid, and that's what a lot of these companies that engage in these high pressure sales tactic and gimmicks do, and it's not right.
Well, I'll never forget. I've read a lot in the field of selling, and you talk about those movies. There's another one called Boiler Room. It amazes me that there are salespeople that resonates with, like, oh, that's strong and that's great. The old school selling, you can go back, and I've listened to audio tapes. The 4-step approach, just a little bit of emphasis on rapport, and then do a little bit of a needs assessment, say 10% rapport, 20% needs assessment, 30% of the time and attention is giving an enthusiastic, canned sales pitch, and then 40% is closing, overcoming objections, getting that deal. In the consultative mindset, what we do, the foundation, 40%, is having a company that people can trust and feel comfortable with. 30% is assessing what they want. Like you said, we're providing solutions. So we need to seek first to understand, then to be understood. Then through a conversation, 20% is, here's our solution and here's how we're different and here's why that matters to you. 10% might be helping to answer some concerns, to button up some details, make sure that all their questions are answered. We don't talk about closing at North Georgia Windows. I love that. We only talk about helping people. And really, if you treat people right and you do the business the right way, customers will feel comfortable placing their order with you. What has amazed me is the number of referrals that I run on these appointments. It feels like at least half of the appointments, how did you hear about us? A friend, a neighbor, a family member, a coworker, neighborhood email, who should I buy windows from? And multiple people saying the same thing. You've got to talk to North Georgia Windows. The key to getting referrals is to be referable. And it starts with, don't put people in a high pressure sales situation.
Yeah, it's over a 30% ratio here at this business. And the bottom line is, if their experience isn't good on the front end, then that's a good indication of what kind of company you're dealing with and what your whole project's going to end up like.
Oh, that is so true. I had a customer a couple months ago that 10 years ago, they spent over $1,000 per window for vinyl windows with a lifetime warranty. It was a high pressure sales situation up front. They've had 4 of the windows fail at different times. And every time they said it's taken 6 months of hassling phone calls. It's been such a stressful experience. They get charged $100 trip charge or service fee or something like that every time the company comes out. And sure enough, overlooking this beautiful lake right in their master bedroom, you can't even see the lake because the glass is all fogged up. And it's been like that for several months.
Well, we're going to get into the scam of the vinyl window industry in a later podcast, but I appreciate you being here. And I think the bottom line is the reason that most companies want you to buy on the first visit, and they do these high pressure sales and gimmicks and same day discounts is they don't want you to see other companies. And particularly in our market, they do not want you to see Infinity from Marvin by North Georgia replacement windows. And it's nothing to do with the price. I mean, the investment of the project, because we're not going to be the cheapest people out there. We don't have that type of product. We don't offer that type of service. But if you make that decision very rashly up front, then you're not going to get the opportunity to see something that is probably going to be a lot better for you in the long run.
That's a fact. I had a customer ask me, when somebody buys from your top competitor, why do they pick them over you? And it only took me a moment to think about it. I said, because they never saw us is usually the answer. They were told some things that were not true and given a huge incentive to move forward right there on the spot, and they never got to hear what North Georgia could offer them with Infinity. So that's what's amazed me right off the bat was how few cancellations we have. I've gone an entire year helping hundreds of customers sign up and had maybe one that canceled. And it wasn't because they got second thoughts. It was because the homeowners association wouldn't approve the changes that they wanted to make. And, we ended up losing the project. It's amazing the difference from start to finish being in this culture. I love it.
Sure. Well, it's all about helping people. And hopefully this podcast today has helped somebody not to fall into some of these traps that are being, done out there in our industry. So
let's hope so.
All right. Thank you, Denver.
Thank you, Ted.
Well, that's a wrap for this episode. Be sure to subscribe on Google Podcasts, iTunes, or Spotify. And if you've enjoyed the content, we're always thankful for the ratings and reviews.